That is when you can extract from it, understand it. The people I have found who can do that best are Ethan and Tal. One of the best things they ever did was show me when I was wrong. I hope all of my classmates keep talking for the rest of their lives, because that is how they express all of their great virtues. Talking, I have gone through Schechter, and right now, talking, I leave.
I have chosen to write about the memories of Schechter and how Schechter taught us all to be cool. I came to Schechter in the 4th grade not knowing a soul. I thought that by the end of the school year I was part of the grade, but on the second to last day of the school year I got into a fist fight with Erica Cohen. By the end of the fight we were both crying and almost got suspended. I can laugh as I look back on that fight now, because the fight started when I accused Erica of cheating in a capture the flag game. Real cool, right? So after going through the 5th grade without getting into a fist fight, and eventually getting my first letter grade ever from David Wolf, I entered the 6th grade where I learned how to be cool. Naturally, I learned how to be cool from Mrs. Langton. Every time people were talking in Tefillot, Mrs. Langton would first ask people to raise their hands if they could hear the sound of her voice. After everyone was quiet, she would tell the 7th and 8th grade to be ashamed of themselves because the 6th grade could act cool, we would obediently say. In Mrs. Langton's book, acting cool was not whining or complaining and keeping her awake during our oral reports. Then, when we entered the 8th grade, we had Mrs. Langton again, who told us in our first class that we weren't cool anymore and had to be retaught. Also, I could never forget Science Week. It was our first test to see if we could act cool and not complain about the only week in our lives when we didn't shower or brush our teeth. We had to take hikes in 40-degree weather and in the rain. Everyone's lips got chapped and mine even fell off. Then in the 7th and 8th grade, I tried to see if going into the drama department could be cool. First there was Guys and Dolls, in which I was a gambler and cheater. Second, there was Les Miserables, in which I was a rebellious student bent on violence. Where did I go wrong? אבל אני עדיין חי, ויש לי כבוד לאמור שעכשיו אני עוזב בית ספר שאני לא אשכח לעולם. אני לא אשכח שכטר, ואין תלמיד בחדר הזה שיכול לאמור שהם לא ישכחו את שכטר גם כן.
I sat on the floor of my bedroom, staring at my calendar with disbelief, as I realized that there were only 8 days left of school. 8 days to wrap up my life as a Schechter student. 8 days to enjoy my day-to-day friendships with my closest friends. 8 days to come to terms with the fact that after Friday, May 27th, my Schechter experience would consist only of memories. It was difficult to put my finger on the most memorable event that stands out in my Schechter experience. That night, I sat with my parents and reminisced about my years at Schechter. It was exciting and sad at the same time. We talked about each year and its milestone events, from kindergarten to 8th grade. My excitement reached its climax as I reflected upon 3rd grade. I remembered 2 teachers who had a profound impact on me. S.D. Cohen and Susan Banks understood my needs and gave me the space I needed to grow and become the person I am today. They made me feel happy and comfortable in a classroom environment. They were loving and warm, and I will never forget them. The other significant impact on my Schechter years is the great friendships I have developed over the past 9 years. The bond between us and the camaraderie among us will hopefully last forever. הניסיון שלי בשכטר רווי בהרגשות וזיכרונות טובים ונעימים. כאשר אני חושבת על שכטר, אני לא רק חושבת על הבניין, אלא גם על החברים, המורים, ועל האווירה המיוחדת שמרגישים כל יום כשנכנסים לבית ספר. אווירה זו תלווה אותי כל חיי כזיכרון נעים ועמוק שיישאר לעולם בתוכי.
In my 7 years at Schechter, I've met many people who have helped me succeed. One teacher that stands out is our 4th grade teacher, Moshe Rudin. Moshe related to all of us, and he was always there to help us with our problems. Moshe had many exciting ways of teaching, one of which was his game for reviewing, the Krell. The game was much like a computer game, to which we could all relate. An alien, played by Moshe, was trying to take over our planet. Moshe would ask questions about material we had learned, and we would have to answer them to keep him from advancing. Another game was the invisible maze. We answered questions to move a certain length and make our way through a maze, which was, of course, invisible. Games like this made learning in his class both educational and fun. A part of the week I remember very clearly is Friday afternoon. In honor of the coming Shabbat, Moshe would allow us 5 minutes to present a small comedy show to the class. Every week, one group would present their show to the class. Another part of the year was the Maleva Malka, the Hebrew play which the 4th grade puts on for the parents. I enjoyed the practices because I was playing a crazed stooge. Shoshi Narva, Danny Birnbaum, and I were always trying to think of another little stooge move to add to the play, but of course it was all cut out due to the violence. Moshe was one of the most exciting and energetic teachers I ever had. He taught me that being a student does not have to mean you are a slave, and that learning can be fun if one adds a little spice. Thank you, Moshe, for one of my best years here at Schechter. I would also like to thank everyone in my class for all these great years you have contributed to my life. I will never forget you.
Math has never been my strongest subject. When I was in 4th grade, I convinced myself to believe in the motto, "The purpose of math is to confuse you." 7th grade was when I discovered my new best friend. Reliable, dependable, all-knowing, and efficient. The calculator. Once I had the magic machine, I didn't need to know the multiplication tables, how to do long division, or even fractions. The calculator drained my head of all prior knowledge of how to do math. I couldn't do a thing without it. I remember one time at the end of 7th grade when the teacher said we couldn't use our calculators on a few problems we did in class. I stared blankly at the paper while my classmates whizzed through. When I entered 8th grade, I continued to idolize my calculator. So obviously, the first question I asked my new teacher, Miss Lerner, was, "Can we use our calculators this year?" To my horror, she said, "No." I thought I would faint then and there. As the year went on, Miss Lerner helped to convince me that my 4th grade motto was wrong. I began to believe in a new motto: "You can do this in your head." With Miss Lerner's help, I began to remember long-forgotten concepts, such as the multiplication tables. Miss Lerner would suddenly stop the class, point to a student, and say, 12 times 3. If they didn't answer within 2 seconds, the next person would get the problem, and so on. There weren't any prizes, just the satisfaction of knowing every time it was your turn, you got the problem right. For me, this prize was a treasure. Another feeling of satisfaction came when I answered a question correctly in class, without using my calculator. Miss Lerner's eyes would open wide. She would raise her eyebrows high. Her face would brighten, and she would exclaim, "Isn't math fun? Don't you love it?" Just seeing how excited Miss Lerner would get really motivated me to try my hardest without sneaking my calculator. I never had a teacher who was as motivating as Miss Lerner. She really helped me to overcome my addiction to the calculator. Now, when there's a sale for 25% off, I can figure out the price in my head. Miss Lerner, I hope all my future teachers are as energetic, motivating, and interesting as you. I'll miss you.
Abby and I have known each other for so long that by now...
We can finish each other's sentences. If there's one thing you should know about Jen and me, it's that we're big talkers.
It all probably started on a field trip in first grade when we sat together on the bus and planned our upcoming trip to Florida.
We were going to get picked up at the airport in a limousine and continue on our way to buy out Toys R Us.
We'd only known each other for 3 months, but the moment we'd met, something just clicked.
And we quickly cemented our friendship with a $3 best friend necklace that broke after 2 weeks.
We were devastated, but that didn't stop us from becoming even better friends.
After emptying our piggy banks and coming up with a grand total of $27.62, our dreams of Florida for that year began to fade.
But we made a promise that by the end of 8th grade, we would make it to Florida together.
In 4th grade, we formed a club with a membership that peaked at 2 people.
More people would have joined, except that to become a member, you had to sit on the gray rock during meetings.
And it only fit 2 people.
By 6th grade, we had a second vacation planned.
The Winter Olympics were on, and being the skiing fanatics that we are,
We decided that we had to ski in Val d'Isère, France.
we were sure that by age 16, we'd be off to Europe.
But by then, we'd matured.
And after thinking it over, we decided that France was a little extreme.
So we settled for Utah instead.
All right, so maybe we hadn't matured.
7th grade brought us the egg story.
At the end of the year, we were assigned to make an object that would protect an egg from being cracked after being thrown from a second-story window.
We were sure that a cantaloupe was the ideal choice. So, while all our friends were at CVS and Grossman's making complicated contraptions,
Jen and I were at Star Market, choosing the perfect cantaloupe.
we decided to test it from Abby's roof. And I'm proud to report that our mission was accomplished and our egg did not break.
Unfortunately, the cantaloupe did, and we'd forgotten to buy more than one.
So we were unable to share our achievement with the rest of the grade.
Mid-January of 8th grade, we finally saw our first grade goal within reach.
We had our tickets to Florida.
So maybe we didn't buy Toys R Us or get picked up in a limousine, but we had an unbelievable time.
Who knows, maybe we'll make it to Utah after all. Avarnu harbe biyachad, ubli Abby hashanim b'shechter, lo yochlu hiyot oto davar.
Hayu lanu tukufot tovot, ulifamim gam tukufot ra'ot. Aval tamid hitzlachnu lihikaber al hakol, biglal shehayinu biyachad. B'meshech hashanim hachaveru chalanu hitchazaka v'hitchazaka, v'haksheru nas'u yoter v'yoter hadukim. We've had good times and even some bad times, but we've always gotten through them because we were together.
And we know that by now, nothing, not even different high schools, can crack our friendship, even without a cantaloupe to protect us.
Of all the meaningful experiences that I've had at Schechter, the most enjoyable for me has been the opportunity to form close friendships. My friends and I dispute about whose computer is better and who is better at a certain sport. Over the years, we have developed a strong bond. We have a great time telling jokes. For example, one of my friends and I made a little song during rehearsal of Les Miserables. It was a takeoff on the songs from Sesame Street. Todos mis amigos, me gusta ir al supermercado con mis padres, y me gusta comprar papas y plátanos. We get together and we play basketball and baseball every day at Period X. Now we are going our own ways. Hopefully, we will all keep in touch with each other after Schechter. I have learned how to make good friends, and as I move on in life, I will be able to enjoy new friendships. The teachers have also had a positive influence on me. There has been one teacher in particular that I have enjoyed. Joy Chertow teaches interesting things in art. She encourages us to come up with our own ideas. The most important thing I learned from Joy is an appreciation of the different styles of well-known artists. She encourages us to appreciate their work and inspires us to create our own work. Joy introduced us to the paintings of Georgia O'Keeffe. Then we drew our own drawings of flowers using pastel crayons. One of my favorite projects was when she asked us to draw our own sneaker, paying close attention to detail, and then turn the sneaker into an imaginary animal. Through this project, we learned to look at an ordinary object in an imaginary way. Our most recent project was a three-dimensional clay tile that was based on a story from the Torah. I chose the story of David and Goliath, and as I worked with the clay, I learned about modeling and glazing techniques. As I continue my art studies at Newton South, I will always remember Joy's encouraging words about our work. As I leave Schechter, I will remember my friends and think back, with a smile on my face, to all our funny jokes and great times. בעתיד, אני אתגעגע לחברים שלי. הם היו חברים טובים מאוד, והם היו כמו משפחה בשבילי.
There were over 70 kids in my Schechter class when I entered kindergarten. Now there are 35. I believe if it were not for my first grade Hebrew teacher, Rena Cohen, the number would be 34. I had lots of problems learning Hebrew, and I still do. I believe I would have had to leave Schechter if she had not tutored me from 2nd to 4th grade after school each week. We spent 1 hour working on my Hebrew homework and all my other problems in Hebrew. I would like to begin my speech by thanking her. Throughout my years at Schechter, I have participated in lots of events, including the Malava Malka, Science Week, Injustice Overruled, and the Yom HaShoah service. One very memorable event for me will be the 5th grade play. In that play, Nir Reuven and I attempted to recite a funny rhyme about a family buying a turkey. Unfortunately, the audience's laughter made us laugh uncontrollably. At first, I was very embarrassed, but then I realized that the audience didn't hold this against us. And this taught me that when people make mistakes, other people usually understand, and it's not a big deal. I think that this is a very valuable lesson. Another thing I learned here at Schechter is a strong work ethic. I say this because I'm a naturally lazy person, and I needed teachers that would push me to work hard. I'd like to conclude my speech by thanking all my teachers for making me work harder than I ever would have by myself. היו לי 9 שנים של כיף, ואני אתגעגע לבית הספר הזה.
I walk through the black door and wonder how I've lasted in such a small school for 9 years. I pass a few teachers who prefer to be called by first names and onto my locker. Greeted by hugs and laughter from the same familiar faces, I throw my books on the floor and head off to Tefillot. Who would bother stealing my stuff? Come on, really, this is only Schechter. These 7 overused words basically describe the relaxed environment we live in this school. With group work and so much time spent together, we have learned to work together as a class. In this style of learning, we learn from each other and can value each other's opinions to add to our own.
There are so few kids in each grade that I have come to know almost everyone, and with every single person in my grade, I can associate a memory of a fun or special time. It is with these people that I have grown up, and with these people that I have shared experiences that I will remember for years to come. Of the 34 students sitting behind me, there may one day be a saver of the rainforest, an Olympic tennis player, a rabbi, a world-famous chiropractor, and maybe even a few Schechter parents. I can't guess what everyone will become, but I can take with me what I've learned from them. Schechter has taught me many things, from Talmudic halacha to slope-intercept form. But 30 years from now, when I am President of the United States, my most vivid memory of Schechter will be the friends I've acquired and come to love in the past 9 years.
It was September 1985. It was my first day of kindergarten, and I was terrified. I was in a new school with people 3 times my height that I had never seen before. My parents led me into a room filled with strangers. They kissed me goodbye and left me to fend for myself in my new surroundings. When I finally built up enough courage to take a peek around, I was astounded. All around me were posters and pictures of everything one could imagine. There were deep-sea creatures, the solar system, animals of every shape and color, maps of the world, and many, many other things. Best of all these new things was my teacher, Diane Levine, Zichrono Livracha. Diane had the incredible ability of making anything she taught, no matter how seemingly boring, fun and exciting. I remember making rhyme books in her class. We would tell her the rhyming words, and she would write them down for us. When we first started doing this, it seemed to me that this would be a colossal waste of time. As the year progressed, though, this rhyming time became more and more enjoyable. Diane made even simple writing fun, and I thank her for that. Kindergarten is not generally the inspiration for learning, but in my case, it was. Diane made me want to learn, and I have carried this idea of learning through my Schechter years. I wish she were with us today so that I could thank her, and more importantly, so that other children could still benefit from her incredible gift for teaching.
My 5th grade school year was one of my more difficult. I was having problems with friends and problems with my Hebrew class. Being apprehensive about the upcoming year, 6th grade, didn't help any. Having Sarah Marowitz as an advisor was a good experience for me. We talked about everything and anything, and after the lunch period was over, Sarah would say, "Do you guys remember what we've talked about? Let's meditate on it." We had loads of fun preparing a small production of the song Jellicle Cats for the student talent show with Mimi and Dahlia, and the whole experience brought the 4 of us closer together because of all the time and effort we put into it. This year, I was the advisor, and my advisees and me are every bit as close as Sarah and I were. We meet whenever we can, and I can pretty much tell by looking at CG's and Riva's faces what they are thinking. Whenever I see Sarah, she has a hug for me, and in the future, when I see CG and Riva, I will have a hug for them too.
For me, there is little difference between a teacher and a friend. For a teacher can become a great friend, and a friend can be one of the best teachers ever. What does friend mean? Sometimes it means having a deep, serious discussion. Other times, it means having miles of private jokes. It means helping someone with a tough assignment. Or it could mean working for hours on a math puzzle or a talent show duet. Sometimes it means writing frequent letters to the other side of the world. Sometimes it even means an adult who likes to tease you about your hometown. For me, this last person is Mrs. Cover. Kol hamarim shali gam hayu li chaverim. אבל היא במיוחד הייתה לי חברה טובה. זה לא חשוב שהיא מבוגרת, כי המורה הכי טוב הוא גם חבר שאפשר להתקרב אליו. So, whether child or adult, every friend means something different to me. But the one thing that all good friends have in common is that they can teach you something, and they find your teachings to be important as well. במשך השנים, כשהכרתי יותר כל אחד ואחד מכם, למדתי דרככם ובעזרתכם דברים חדשים. So to sum up what I am saying, here's a poem which I wrote from my yearbook page. It's been 4 years since I first walked through Schechter's black front door, and not a single one of you I'd ever met before. You made me feel quite comfortable as I adjusted here. I've come to know each one of you as friends whom I hold dear. I'm sorry if I always want the test a week before. My rainforest obsession may be somewhat of a bore. You may not understand my mathematical excursions. I'm always looking for some vegetarian conversions. But hey, we all are different, unique, even bizarre. And next year, I'll miss all of you because of who you are. And so my final words to you, before we bid adieu. I hope you've learned as much from me as I have learned from you.
Mine is not the first speech about friendship that you have heard today, but I believe that its message is very different from that of the other speeches. It contains few memories, the reason being that, while I have many happy memories, I have less than my classmates. I think that these unhappy memories were due to the fact that I had few friends. And then in 5th grade, I slowly began to realize the benefits of friendship. By the end of 7th grade, I was friends with, or at least on speaking terms with, most of the grade. It was only when I went to Israel in 8th grade that I truly appreciated friendship. You should know that it was your letters and also your memories that kept me going this year. This past week, I was able to help some of my friends with their problems, so I know how satisfying it is to be able to help someone who needs you. It has been wonderful to be back and part of this class again, and I can only thank you all for that great privilege. Unfortunately, I have seen enough this year to know how difficult and painful separation truly is. All we are is dust in the wind, to be put together and ripped apart as fate so chooses. Personally, I not only lost a whole year, but I'm also losing many good friends. I can only think of too many best friends that aren't going to the same high school. Therefore, I give you only this advice. Whenever possible, make friends and keep them. Because friendship is such a powerful force, it is not only a priceless gift, but also hard to lose. To all of you, who have all been my friends over the years, I am honored to have been counted as one of your friends. Thank you so much, good luck, and please stay in touch.